you don't know who Ashish sir is basically a teacher of a IELTS exam. Today, if you don't know about IELTS exam, we will deeply discuss on the IELTS exam in 2024 and 2025, how the structure of this exam is and everything about the exam. Okay, so first of all, thank you so much, sir, again, to giving me your valuable time today.
You don't need to be this formal.
Okay, but not everyone knows that he is my brother also. So हम ये पॉडकास्ट हिंदी में भी रखेंगे,
Okay.
हिंदी और इंग्लिश में,
Yeah, that works well.
बिकॉज नॉट एवरीवन कैन अंडरस्टैंड इंग्लिश बेटर, लाइक अच्छे से नहीं समझ पाते कोई कोई लोग. तो मुझे पहले पूछना है सर, व्हाट इज आईएलटीएस एग्जाम और किसको ये प्रिपेयर करना चाहिए और किसके लिए ये वीडियो है?
Okay, fine. So, if you are someone like a student and you are planning to go to some country overseas for your studies, or if you are a working professional with a handful of experience, let's say, and you want to try your hand at some MNC, right, who's based in like other countries, specifically native English speaking countries. So, for these two people, they will have to go through IELTS.
ओके, सो बेसिकली जिसे बाहर जाना है स्टडी के लिए या फिर जॉब के लिए या फिर बिजनेस के लिए, उसे ये एग्जाम इम्पोर्टेंट है, ये ना. तो ये एग्जाम कितने कंट्रीज में वैलिड है या फिर कितने इंस्टीट्यूट्स में वैलिड है?
This is a very interesting question. We have around 190 countries, right? 190, 195, including the disputed ones as well. So, out of 195 countries, 140 countries accept IELTS as their default test,
Okay.
as their staple proficiency test for English language. We do also have other proficiency tests like IELTS. We have Duolingo English test. We also have TOEFL,
Yeah.
right? And we also have Pearson English test, Pearson test of English. Oh, sorry.
I want to ask you, sorry I interrupted you. इसमें क्या डिफरेंस है? ये जो इतने सारे हैं, तो IELTS ही क्यों या फिर बाकी के एग्जाम्स कैसे?
Yeah, fine. See, let me clarify certain things with you regarding this other proficiency test as well. So, if you consider Duolingo English test and PT, Pearson test of English, these are AI-based tests, artificial intelligence.
Okay.
So, your exam is conducted by AI. First thing, it is assessed by AI, and everything is done by AI, right, from declaring your results and everything. So there is no human intervention whatsoever.
And that's the difference between IELTS exam and other exam. IELTS exam is basically there is institution that handles and
Yes.
Tell me more about this IELTS
Okay.
exam.
Yeah. First of all, it is exam prepared by Cambridge. Now, all of you must have heard about Cambridge.
Yeah.
Cambridge is one of the oldest educational institute in the world. I guess, I'm not very sure about it, around 400 years old, so, right?
Right.
400 साल पुराना है. And if you see the true goats of this world, the legends, intellectual legends, obviously, Newton, Isaac Newton, and Albert Einstein, all of these people were alumni of Cambridge.
I think B.R. Ambedkar was also.
Yes, also yes, B.R. Ambedkar from India, and some other great personalities. So, IELTS is an exam which is prepared by Cambridge, right?
Right.
Yeah. And first, Cambridge prepares your exam. They produce material for you guys to study, for students to study, right? Syllabus and everything.
It's not like AI based. It's
No.
Real people who
Yes.
conduct this exam,
Yes.
not AI.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's why IELTS is more valuable than other exams.
Yes, exactly. Because AI is not yet matured.
Right.
It's easy to fool, and it both has pros and cons. You might end up scoring, in some cases, slightly greater bands than you should have. And again, in some cases, maybe due to distortion of noise, right? The kind of noises you get when lot of air is passing through the mic, right? This can also lower your score. So there are a lot of negatives attached to it. I don't know whether I'm putting it correctly or not, but still.
That's why more countries are accepting IELTS.
Yes.
बाहर मतलब दूसरे एग्जाम से ज़्यादा वैल्यू IELTS एग्जाम को दे रहे हैं अभी.
Yeah,
Is this
definitely.
the case?
Yes, yes. That is the main reason why IELTS is a crown jewel of all the proficiency tests we have. That is why I said earlier that it is a staple exam, right?
Okay.
To check your proficiency in English. Yeah.
Okay. मुझे और एक बात पूछनी है कि ये IELTS एग्जाम का जो पैटर्न है, एग्जाम का जो पैटर्न है, उसके बारे में थोड़ा बताइए.
Okay. Like every other proficiency test, like JLPT for Japanese or any German language proficiency, IELTS will also have 4 sections.
Okay.
First, they will check you in your listening, reading, writing, and speaking. So 4 modules you have to.
So let's start with speaking.
Okay.
Like, tell me how the speaking test conduct.
Okay.
They conduct.
So yeah, this is a 2-part test. Your 3 modules, listening, reading, and writing, will happen separately in one sitting, in one go.
Right.
Yeah. But your speaking sessions, they happen separately.
Okay.
Yeah.
Real person with a real person.
Yes, with a real person.
Okay.
Obviously. Maybe the person is sitting in front of you, as we are right now, or maybe it is happening over some kind of a medium, like a platform, let's say Skype or Zoom or Google Meet or something.
Okay. So
And speaking, you have 3 rounds: part 1, part 2, and part 3. All of these are fairly simple. If English is not a foreign language to you, if it is not an alien language to you, this is something you won't like require a lot of preparation and all, because the questions are fairly easy. Very simple questions they ask. In fact, in part 1, they do understand and acknowledge the fact that what kind of pressure you are sitting in, right? Because the person sitting in front of you is there to judge you on the basis of each and every word you utter.
okay.
Right?
Right.
So they understand the pressure. That's why questions are fairly easy. You don't need any knowledge, any profound knowledge of any profound subject to respond to this question. These are just opinion-based questions. Like, what do you do in your free time? How's your home like? What are your preferences in food? Right? Which one would you prefer to read, like magazines or newspapers? Which is the busiest part of your city? What is the most famous street food of your city?
Okay.
It's fairly simple. Nothing.
The answer, the question का जो answer वो matter नहीं करता. The way you answering in the language,
Okay.
that what matters. I think.
कह सकते हैं इसको.
या फिर दोनों भी matter करता है.
Yes, I would prefer the second one. हो सकता है दोनों मैटर करते हैं. हो सकता है means if the response is fairly accurate to the question, it's good. But yes, matter नहीं करता किस केस में? Let's assume if someone asks you that for a resource-hungry nation like India, is it okay to have a space program? If I say yes, it's fine, it's the correct answer. If I say no, again, it's also a correct answer. Provided that I should be able to explain this convincingly, properly.
Okay.
Right?
Okay. This is speaking.
Yes.
Right.
But we haven't spoke about part 1, part 2. Should we continue?
Yeah, please.
Okay, fine. So part 2 is arguably the most challenging part in your speaking test. Not because of the questions they ask, and not because of you are you don't know the answers of these questions, nothing like that. Because questions, as I said earlier, these are fairly simple questions. It is just that we don't have this habit of speaking more than 2 or 3 minutes, right? We are not used to giving short speeches. This is what they test there in part 2.
Okay.
This is the core ability that you'll have to show them, that you can make a speech, a short speech.
Speech.
Yes,
On
a 2 to 3 minute speech.
2 to 3 minutes.
3 very rarely, but while practicing, you should practice as if you have to deliver a 3-minute speech.
Okay, I want an example. Like, what kind of speech?
Okay, fine. The questions are fairly simple, as I've said earlier. Describe your dream tourist destination where you would like to go someday, right?
Okay.
This is a kind of question, and you'll have to speak for around 2 minutes on this.
2 minutes.
Maybe they'll ask you describe a recipe which you can prepare better, right? Yeah. You'll have to understand the question. You get 1 minute preparation time for this.
Okay.
60 seconds you get to prepare the response. After that, the examiner will call out your name, and from that point onwards, you'll have to speak for 2 minutes. Okay. You also get a cue card in which you can write some points, and it is advisable that you look at the cue card often, right?
Right.
Because let's assume if you're speaking about some point, and if you look at it again, it will help you to keep on track.
Right. So it's like you have to prepare some points to talk about.
Yes. It's better if you have a proper logical flow. Let's say there is a question and they are asking that talk about the most famous cafe in your city for 2 minutes. Now, how does a logical flow looks like? Let's take an example of this. It should start with the introduction, right? Now, for example, if you say that there is a cafe called as Coco in Amravati, it serves one of the best hot chocolates in the town, and it has a very scenic view of river and lake just beside it, and it is around 5 kilometers away from the bus station and the railway station we have here in Amravati. No, this is the wrong answer. Because there is no logical flow, right?
No.
These are random things flying in your head and you're just giving them out, right?
Okay.
Yeah. So a logical flow would have a proper structure, right? Logical flow itself is a structure.
Right.
Correct. Yeah. So it should be starting with the introduction of this cafe, right?
Okay.
What is this cafe and where is this? And you should not, you don't need to give a detailed address because no one is going to come to that address, right? Because you're not promoting that cafe. Location in the sense, let's say if you land to Amravati railway station,
Right.
how could you reach to that cafe? Like if you take a cab and you ask them to drop you in Sundarlal Square, and it's just 100 meters from there on your left. That's it. So this is an introduction. In between, you could describe about the delicacies they serve, the ambience that cafe has, what kind of fond memories you have there, right? How you like about the services, anything for that matter. And finally, you should conclude it. So the examiner would understand that, okay, you're done with your response. You should end with a recommendation, maybe. Let's say if you ever visit Amravati, I would highly recommend you come to the Cafe Coco and enjoy the hot chocolate, and you will never regret it.
Okay.
Correct? And in this way, we'll understand that yes, your response is done. So this is how part 2 is done, and part 3 is extremely similar to part 1.
Okay.
Usually they expect 3-sentence response in this. 3-sentence or 3-part response.
Okay.
Not necessarily 3 sentences. A descriptive answer. Not one word, not one sentence, and try not to repeat questions from the example, right? Let's say, what is your favorite color? You should never say red. You should also never say, my favorite color is red, right? Because as an answer, you are not adding any value to it because most of the words were just taken from the question, right?
Right. Answer logical रहना चाहिए.
It helps if they are logical.
It helps.
Yes, it helps.
And
Though it is not the test of your intelligence or your IQ test, right?
okay.
Still, if you're smart enough, it truly helps.
So ये 3 स्पीकिंग में रहते हैं. तो ये 3 पार्ट रहते हैं अलग अलग. तो ये इसमें कितना मार्क्स वो देते हैं और ये कैसे कंक्लूड करते हैं कि इतना मार्क्स होना चाहिए? मार्किंग कैसा कंक्लूड करते हैं?
Okay, fine. This has different marking criteria. The lot of things will be going through the head of the examiner while he's listening to your responses. They will think about your grammatical accuracy. They will think about your grammatical range of your sentences, right? Do you only speak in simple sentences, or do you show a nice combination of complex sentences, compound sentences, maybe complex compound sentences? I know. Excuse me. Then they will be thinking about your vocabulary, what kind of words do you use, right? Appropriate vocabulary. I think me what we serve. Is it okay?
It's okay. We'll
Are you
read it
sure?
out. You just have to repeat it from this, and I'll cut it.
Okay,
Everything.
okay, fine. I'm very thankful to you for this. Yeah, so there is second criteria that is called as lexical resources.
Lexical
Lexical resources.
resources.
Resources,
Okay,
yes.
what is the meaning of this?
In layman terms, this is just uh, the knowledge and abundance of your vocabulary,
Okay.
right? Yeah.
Hmm.
The range of your vocabulary. Then they'll be looking about what kind of pronunciations do you have,
Hmm.
right? Yeah, so these are basically, yes, there is also one more thing, coherence and cohesion. It is, did you respond to the question appropriately? How well did you respond? To what length did you respond?
Hmm.
Correct. That's,
Okay.
yeah, these are all the criteria.
How many कितना marking कितना रहता है इसके लिए?
This entire test is 9 bands.
9 bands.
Yes.
Okay.
And out of which 6.5 is mandatory, right? So you have to score 6.5 individually in all 4 modules. So in speaking, you'll have to score 6.5 no matter what.
Okay.
Okay, but there are certain institutions which also accept 6, but you'll have to look for that.
Okay. But 6.5 is universally accepted.
Accepted mostly. There are also some institutions, if let's say if you're going for some kind of research work, they will expect 7 bands.
7 bands.
Yes.
Okay. 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 We have covered the part of speaking.
Speaking, yes.
Now I want to know about reading.
Okay, fine. So in your reading, we are talking about academic specifically for students. You will have 3 long passages.
Okay.
Very academic kind of passages, literature level. And you will have to solve 40 questions. 13 in part 1, 13 in part 2, and 14 in part 3. You will get 60 minutes precisely to solve all 40 questions. Now,
60 minutes?
Yes, exactly.
Only 60 minutes?
Yes, only 60 minutes. So, the content is not the most important hurdle you will have to cross.
Okay.
Right? It is the time management. Time is your prime nemesis. Right? You have to defeat it. You have to race against time. See, let's assume if you had 1 hour for each of these passages, every one of us is definitely scoring 40 out of 40, right? Every one of us.
Right.
That's given. So that boils down to same thing which I've said earlier. It's about time.
Right.
Yeah. So you must be thinking that if I have 3 passages in total and I have 60 minutes, I can divide 20, 20, 20. But that would be a very wrong division of this, right? Because as you proceed with questions, as you proceed with your passages, you will notice the change, the shift in the tone, the overall difficulty changes in terms of paraphrasing, in terms of content. The paragraphs gets denser, right? Saturated with information, I would say. And the language is comparatively different compared to what we are used to, the colloquial which we use in everyday, right? Day-to-day general English. It's different. So for that reason, ideally you should spend 15 minutes in solving your first passage, 20 for your second passage, and 25 for your third passage.
Okay.
Yeah. If you are fortunate enough that, let's say, you manage to complete your third passage in 22 or 23, you should spend last 2-3 minutes on proofreading and rechecking the responses, maybe. Right? Or if you have left some questions from previous passages, you can go back there.
Okay.
Yeah.
So writing is simple. Only one एक ही part रहेगा उसमें.
In writing?
हाँ.
No. In writing task, we have 2 questions.
2 questions.
Task 1 and task 2, we call it.
Okay.
In a writing session.
Okay. Tell me about it.
Yeah, sure. Okay. In writing task 1 for academic, you will have to write a report, a very academic, a very professional report. Right? You will always get a question in terms of an infographic. Okay. How do I best describe this? Write about a picture. Right? Always a picture. Information encoded, embedded in terms of a graph, maybe a line graph, bar graph, pie chart,
Okay.
Correct.
And you have to describe in your words.
Yeah, what is happening, right? Maybe a map or a process diagram or a table sometime. Okay, yes. So what you have to do, you have to write a very formal report regarding this, and yes, it has a very definite structure, right? It has some set of rules, some do's and don'ts, which you have to follow. Got it? Everything is checked. It should be as formal as possible.
Okay.
Yeah. About writing task 2, again, it's an essay, but for task 2, you get 40 minutes. For task 1, you should be spending around 20 minutes, not more than this.
Okay.
Right? The total timing you have for this exam, for this writing test, is 60 minutes, out of which you should be spending not more than 20 minutes on your part 1 and 40 minutes, something plus, like 1 or 2 minutes on your part 2. If you could spare 1 or 2 minutes from your part 1.
Okay.
Because part 2, writing task 2, is arguably the most important question.
Okay.
Yeah.
As you said,
yes.
it's an essay.
Yes, it is an essay.
So tell me about it, how you do it.
Okay. Let me tell you how the marks are calculated for this. Then you will understand the importance of this question. Its marks are calculated twice. So let's assume in case 1, example 1, you have scored 8 bands in your writing task 1 and 5 bands in your writing task 2. Okay. So this is 8 plus 5 plus again 5. Task 2 is calculated twice, right? So 5 plus 5, 10, and plus 8, 18. Now divided by 3. You have received 6 bands.
Right.
Correct? Okay. In second example, you just scored same bands. Just alter the number. You have scored 5 bands in task 1 and 8 bands in task 2. 8 plus 6, 16, plus 5, 21. Divided by 3 is 7 bands now. See how your band score shifted.
Right.
So it won't be wrong if I say that your writing task 2 has a potential to push your entire band score by half.
Okay, so task 2 is more important.
Yes, most important.
Most important.
Most important.
More important than task 1.
Obviously, yes.
Yeah. Okay, got it.
It is an essay, and the bare minimum word length for this should be above 250. But I would say you should write somewhere closer to 300 words.
300 words.
This is a sweet spot, a Goldilocks zone. See, there is no capping limit, to be honest. Here. Not really. If you choose to write around 400 words, no issues. But again, then you are giving a lot of margin for evaluators to cut your bands, right? Let's say if you make some spelling mistakes, some punctuation errors, grammatical mistakes and all, obviously, you will see some kind of deductions.
Okay. Essay will be on ourselves, and what topic will be there?
Obviously, no. You have different types of essay, different types of prompts, questions you get. But if you roughly want to divide these, you can divide them in 2 categories. First is where you get 2 choices.
Okay.
And you have to pick one, no matter what.
Okay.
It does not matter, which side you choose. You should be able to explain that properly, right? Along with some accurate examples, relevant examples. And in the second case, it's a 3-part question, PCS, problem, cause, solution, or a thematic kind of essay, where they will give a problem. You will have to give some causes and a solution to it.
Tell me about the questions, example. Give me example of the questions in the task 2.
Okay. The use of internet, right, is increasing day by day. Now, the question will be, is this a positive development or a negative development? Okay. It's up to you which side you want to choose, right? We have a lot of positives of internet, and we have a lot of negatives as well.
Right.
It depends which side you can explain it. That's it. Right. So on the basis of that, you have to write a 250 to 300 word essay. 300 would be a very nice place to land on. Even 325, 330 is also fine, but beyond that range, I would not recommend you go there. First of all, because of the time constraint you have.
And tell me how they evaluate our marks.
Okay, again, you have same criteria: your coherence and cohesion, your lexical resources, vocabulary, as I said earlier. Then you have your grammatical range and accuracy, correct? All these.
Okay, okay.
Yes, and also TA, that is task achievement.
Task achievement.
Yes.
Okay.
Whether or not you were able to match the word count or not. Right? Yes.
तो हमारा स्पीकिंग हमने कवर कर लिया, स्पीकिंग कैसे देना, राइटिंग भी कवर हो गया. नाउ आई वांट टू नो अबाउट, जैसे आपने मुझे बोला कि देयर आर टू डिस्टिंक्ट एग्जाम्स, वन इज एकेडमिक एंड वन इज जनरल. आई वांट टू नो इन डीप कि क्या डिफरेंस होता है इसमें और किसे देना चाहिए एकेडमिक और किसे जनरल देना चाहिए.
Okay, fine. So, academic is for students. If you are someone who is opting for some kind of academic course, right, in an institution, in a university, let's say a PG diploma, a master's degree or something. Usually, most of the students they go for masters. Yeah, or a research work or something. So, even undergraduates, right? So, for you people, you have to go for academic, IELTS academic, not UKVA. UKVA is different. That is specifically for UK visas and immigration. So, not that one, just choose IELTS academic. And the second one is IELTS general. General is for working professionals, right? And for PRs and all. That's the difference. Yes, in terms of your exam, in terms of your test, there is around 3 to 5% difference, especially in your writing task one. Here in academic, you have to write a formal report. In IELTS general, in writing task one, in same time, 20 minutes, you will have to write a letter, maybe formal letter, informal letter, or semi-formal letter. There is also a difference in your reading test. As I've said earlier, in reading part for academic, you have 3 long passages, and you get 60 minutes, and you have to solve 40 questions. In IELTS general, instead of getting 3 long passages, you get 5 short passages.
Okay.
Again, you have to solve 40 questions in 60 minutes. That's it. Apart from this, there is no difference whatsoever.
Only in a writing.
In writing task 1 and reading.
मुझे पूछना है, अगर मुझे, मैं बिजनेसमैन हूँ एंड आई वांट टू गो लिव इन यूके और यूएस, तो मुझे जनरल देनी चाहिए.
Yes.
राइट.
Yes.
और मैं अगर एकेडमिक पर्पस के लिए, लाइक टू स्टडी अब्रॉड के लिए जा रहा हूँ, तो मुझे एकेडमिक वाला लेना चाहिए.
Yes.
ओके. तो ये
But again, I need to clarify that. Let's say if you're not a businessman and you want to work in some firm for some organization, you want to apply for work. That's when you'll also have to go through IELTS general.
General.
Yes.
If you're applying for a job, you have to go for general.
General.
Okay. So basically, academic सिर्फ जो सीखने जा रहे हैं,
Yes.
उनके
For
लिए,
students.
और बाकी जो जनरल में है वो इंटरनल वाले एग्जाम
Yeah.
देंगे. Okay, got it.
Started with speaking.
Then
Then you asked me to talk about reading.
reading,
Then we were talking about your writing.
writing.
And finally listening.
Okay. So tell me about
yes,
listening.
about your listening. Okay. So your listening task can take around 27 to 35 minutes. Let's assume on an average it's a half an hour session. You have to go through 4 sections, 4 parts. Part 1, Part 2, Part 3 and Part 4. All of these will have 10 questions each. So in total you have to solve 40 questions.
Okay.
Yeah. Part 1 is a general conversation between 2 speakers.
Okay.
A general everyday conversation. Let's say 2 friends are talking about something, about their diet or something, or about the new phone they bought, or about the kind of holidays they want to go or something. It will have 10 questions. It's one of the most easiest question type you will ever come across in IELTS. It is recommended that you should score 10 on 10 here in part 1. Part 2 is a monologue. Monologue is where only one speaker speaks. These are generally some kind of instructions. Let's say a tour manager, right, giving instructions regarding the tour, right? About the locations, about what kind of things you need to pack, about the weather, right? About your fee structure, the payments and all, about your food, about your accommodation, instructions. Let's say an HR manager giving an induction training to new joinees or new employees. So, instructions, simply.
You just have to listen it and answer the following questions.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, then what's the difference between part one
And
of
part
the?
As I've said, part one is a conversation, part two is a monologue.
Okay.
Yeah. Part two, you will understand uh, minor complications of speech, right? You will see a higher degree of paraphrasing compared to your part one. Part one is by far the easiest. Part two, you will understand, you'll notice some kind of shift in tone, right? Things get more complicated here. Not more, but it's fairly easy, but still comparatively difficult than part one.
Okay.
Yeah. Part three is a conversation. It can also be a discussion with up to 4 people, usually 3 students, and the fourth person would be their mentor or their HOD, and they're discussing about their subject, their project. Right?
Right.
Got it? Yeah.
Got it.
Slightly academic. Right? The content would be academic, the tone would be very formal and academic. And the questions can be extremely complicated here. Not extremely, it won't be very right if I say extremely, but yes, comparatively more complicated than your part two and part one both.
Okay.
Part four is a lecture, a pure academic lecture.
Okay.
Yes. Again, all of these parts have 10 questions. Part four, in my opinion, by the law, it should be the most difficult. But from what I have experienced, part four is as easy as your part one. If listening English is something you have been doing for very long, if you are into a lot of movies and TV series, and if you listen to podcasts, Joe Rogan and all, but anyway, for that matter. So this should not be difficult to you, in no case.
Okay.
Right?
Right.
And once part four is done, if you're opting for IELTS, pencil and paper, pen and paper IELTS, you get 10 minutes extra. For computer based, you don't. Yeah. 2 modes of appearing for this test. One is computer based. Computer based is for people who are extremely proficient with keyboard.
Right.
If you are a kind of person who don't have to hit backspace very often, this is for you.
Okay.
Right? If your muscle memory is so sharp that your fingers know better which letter is situated where on the keyboard, this is for you.
Right.
Right? Otherwise, just the plain, basic, crude way of writing exams, which we have been used to since our childhood, is pencil and paper based.
So what do you think? Which one is better?
Both are similar.
It depends on the person to person.
Yes, it depends on person. But if you are not sure which way to go with, if you're just asking for a recommendation, I would 100% recommend you go with pencil and paper.
Okay. Got it. The structure change होता है इसका या फिर ये structure सेम ही रहता है बहुत सालों के बाद में भी सेम ही है?
सेम ही है. As such ऐसा कोई मेजर डिफरेंस नहीं आया इसमें अभी तक.
अच्छा, तो 2024 और 2025 का भी स्ट्रक्चर में भी यही रहेगा?
यही है और यही रहेगा. I don't think it's going to be changing anything soon.
Okay. अगर किसी को सीखना है ये IELTS एग्जाम को प्रिपेयर करना है तो what you recommend?
Okay. See, when you opt for IELTS, it is assumed that you have nice proficiency in English. English is not an alien language to you, and you have been exposed to this language enough. You have been using this in terms of speaking, listening, reading, and writing, everything. Right? And now, how much do you know this language properly? For that, we have this test. Correct?
Right.
6.5 is bare minimum. 7.5 means you have around equivalent proficiency of a native English speaker.
Okay.
Yeah. 8 is great, obviously. 9 is
Excellent.
Excellent, obviously, yes.
Better than a native people.
Yes, better than native people.
Right.
Obviously, better than native people.
सर मुझे बताइए कि ऐसे कौन से कॉमन मिस्टेक्स हैं जो स्टूडेंट्स करते हैं इन IELTS एग्जाम?
In which part exactly? Listening?
Yeah, in listening, writing, speaking, and every section.
In listening, there is a question where you have multiple choice answers, right? Three or four options, and you have to pick a correct answer. So, in all those options, there is always one option, not always, but yes, in most cases, which feels most logical, right? Which will truly appeal your logical thinking. Got it? But if you notice properly, they don't even talk about it in the speech.
Okay.
So landing on that option is fairly easy, right? And you have to be very careful about that, right?
Right, right.
Yeah. Again, you have different options, and out of which two are fairly easy to eliminate. Let's say the question, the audio is about how cold things get in Antarctica, about the weather and all. An option will talk about how hot the weather is in Antarctica, right? How hot it gets, right? It's
Right.
fairly easy to eliminate. And second type of option, again regarding same thing, how cold it is in Antarctica, and the option will talk about how hot it is, how tall the buildings are in Dubai, right? This purpose.
Okay.
So this you have to be careful about, because one of the options will be extremely logical, right? And it will use most of the words from the audio, okay? But don't fall for that, right? If that is 100% traceable, go for it.
Okay.
Again, you don't have any negative marking attached to this,
Yeah,
right? So I would recommend, instead of leaving things blank, you should write something.
Okay. In speaking, you have to be more careful on
Part,
part two.
yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. In listening, I want to know what kind of mistake students are doing. What do you think? What is the common mistake students do
We just spoke about it.
in speaking?
In speaking,
Yeah.
okay, in speaking, the most common mistake. Okay, so I would like to talk about the lag or the buffer time. Right? So what happens? There are two type of lags. One is when a person or a candidate is thinking about the structure of the sentence, whether he or she has to apply have or has, V1, V2, V3, and all the grammatical structure. But this is very rare. The second type of lag is very common when the student is trying to think about the advanced vocabulary and very complex ideas and all. Right? How should I impress the examiner with my responses?
Right.
Some outlandish ideas, out of the world concepts and all. There is no such thing. No one cares about it.
Okay.
It should be accurate. It should be fairly simple, not necessary. Right? This is a sure short way to score greater marks.
Right.
Right? Also, think about this as a conversation, not as an interview or something. Right? If that helps to change your perception about it. So the person is trying to get to know you better.
Right.
Just respond in that way. If you think it, think about it as an interview. This might feel slightly heavy. Maybe it depends.
Okay. Common
Right.
mistakes
Yes.
in writing.
Exactly. Common mistakes in writings would be you not following the structure properly. Right?
Okay.
Every essay, every report should have a proper logical flow, right? So you introduce the concept, right? One paragraph is always one central idea. Got it? For academic writing. Now, what students usually do, they tend to merge 2-3 different ideas in same paragraph. So what is happening now? You're just jumping from one idea to another, one idea to another, without giving out any of the details, without properly explaining, right? So all of these logics, all of these concepts are just half-baked ideas, right?
Okay.
So what you do, you introduce one concept, you give a proper explanation of it, right? Now you need to back your explanation up with some kind of relevant examples. Choose examples which are acknowledged everywhere, which won't have any credibility issue, and finally end the paragraph with a concluding statement. One idea, one central idea is concluded, done. Now jump to next idea and do the same things. Okay. So this will truly enhance your bands.
So same question with the reading.
Okay.
So what
Now-
are the
Yes. Reading is slightly different
Right.
in terms of the practice. It is exactly like swimming, right? Or running, maybe. You cannot watch a video one night before, see how to swim fast, and next day you will be able to swim fast. No, that's not going to happen, right? You have to practice it very often, correct?
Right.
Understanding the gist of each of the paragraphs, not entire passage, paragraphs, because as I've said earlier, one paragraph is one central idea. Is very important and it will truly help you, right? Especially for the questions where you have to find detailed information about something. For example, you have a list of headings, 6, 7 headings for 4, 5 paragraphs, correct? And you have to assign one heading to each of the paragraphs. Now, one thing which can help you truly is you going back in the passage instead of you going back to the question and reading the entire list of headings. You should just read the paragraph properly.
Okay.
And then you should decide what this paragraph is talking about. What is the central idea? Okay, and write around it.
Okay.
Somewhere, give it a title. Then try to match that with the heading. You will find it in 95% cases.